I'm making one of my favorite comfort food casseroles, chicken spaghetti. And it's my husband's favorite, my kids' favorite, so it's gonna work out well for me. I start chicken spaghetti by boiling a chicken. I just put a whole cut up chicken in a pot, brought it to a boil, then reduced the heat and simmered it for 25 minutes. Now the chicken is really tender, it's falling off the bone, so I'll let that cool for a second. Now for the casserole recipe, I'll need some chicken broth, so I just use the broth that was created by cooking the chicken. This is such a simple dish. And one of the things that makes this casserole so great is that it's easy to eat. And part of the reason for that is I break the spaghetti into pieces. So I just do it right over the pot. And I cook the spaghetti right in the broth that I cooked the chicken in, so it gives the spaghetti great flavor. This is about a pound of spaghetti pieces. Okay, now while the spaghetti's cooking, I'll get the chicken ready. It's cool enough to handle. So I'm just gonna hold it over the bowl that I'll mix the casserole in, take off the skin as I go, and then I'm just grabbing the chicken and shredding it with my fingers. I've got a diced onion and diced green and red bell pepper. Now most of this casserole recipe is from scratch, but there's one ingredient I just can't reproduce, and that's canned cream of mushroom soup. So I'll just go ahead and add in the salt and pepper. And then I add just a little bit of seasoned salt. It gives it some great flavor, just about a half a teaspoon or so. Now this is also optional, but I like to give the chicken spaghetti a little kick, and I add some cayenne pepper, just probably 4 or 5 little sprinkles. Now I'll just give this a stir. And I think the spaghetti should be ready by now. So I'll just make it easy and just pull it right out. Save myself a long trip to the sink to drain this stuff. Got the spaghetti in there, so I'll just give it a stir. Start introducing all the ingredients. Then the broth goes in. I'll start with about a cup of the broth that I reserved, and then at the very end, I'll check and see what the consistency's like, and I can always splash in more. All right, now I'm gonna grate some cheese. I use sharp cheddar cheese because it's particularly delicious in this casserole when it all melts. And I'll just throw 2 cups right into the bowl with the spaghetti mixture. Okay, now this is where I check the consistency, and it does look like it needs a little more liquid. Because it's baking in the oven, you want it to be a little bit liquidy when it goes in. Then it won't get thick and gloopy. Okay. Now I'll just pour it into a casserole dish. Scrape all that yumminess in there. And then I have more cheese left, and it just goes over the top. If this casserole is wrong, I don't want to be right. All right, now this just needs to go into a 350-degree oven for about 35 or 40 minutes. You guys hungry for lunch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Starving.
So who's the hungriest?
Me.
Josh.
Ooh, Josh.
Josh is.
You're gonna get a big old helping. Here, Josh, you can serve some salad.
Wow.
Chicken mozzarella pasta. It is one of my family's favorite dinners. It's hearty and delicious, and best of all, it takes no time at all to make. Now, I'm cooking some bite-sized chicken pieces. These are boneless, skinless breasts, and I cut them into pretty small pieces because that'll make them cook a little bit quicker. Sprinkle in some salt and pepper. Okay, now I'll let the chicken start to cook, and I'll get some of the other ingredients ready. I'm gonna dice up an onion. That's gonna go into the pan in just a minute. Okay, now I'll grab a couple of cloves of garlic. Garlic always makes anything a little bit more delicious. Okay, I got the onions and garlic all ready. Now the chicken, it looks like, is ready to come out. It's got some nice color on the outside. The good thing is the chicken doesn't have to be all the way cooked at this point. After I make the sauce, the chicken's gonna go back in and finish cooking, and that just makes the sauce even more delicious. Okay, got all the chicken out. Now I'll turn the heat down just a little bit, and I'll put the onions right into the pan with all that wonderful chicken flavor. I love making sauces like this where the meat goes into the pan first and then it just flavors everything you put in there after that. Okay, now I'll just stir around the onions and garlic. Okay, now it's time to put the pasta into the water and get it cooking. It's boiling and ready to go. I'm doing penne pasta, but of course you can do rigatoni, pretty much any kind of pasta you have in your pantry. And that's why I love pasta dishes. There are no rules, just use whatever you've got. Okay, now I'll let the pasta cook and I'll move on with the sauce. The onions and garlic are already starting to turn brown. Now part of what makes this dish so easy and so quick, I use really good quality marinara sauce right out of the jar. I use it all the time. It's a really delicious shortcut ingredient. Now I do want it to have a little bit more of a liquidy texture, so I've got just the thing. I'll reach into my pasta pot, borrow a little of the hot water, and just put it right into the skillet. The pasta will never know it's gone. Now to give it a little bit of a kick, I add some crushed red pepper flakes. Now I'll just stir that in. The last thing to do is just add the chicken back into the sauce, and it's gonna simmer, finish cooking, make the sauce even more delicious. It already looks good. Okay, now to give it a little green, I'll mince up some parsley. Okay, I'll just mince up the parsley, sprinkle it right in. All right, now the sauce just has to simmer for about 7 to 8 minutes. Now I've got one thing to add to the sauce, and it really elevates this dish from just a basic chicken marinara pasta, fresh mozzarella. Now I'm cutting it into cubes, not very big pieces. I'll just cut it into sticks. They're about 1/2 inch square. I'll just sprinkle it right in. This mozzarella is a pretty soft cheese, so it's gonna soften really quickly, but I don't want it to totally melt. I still want it to stay in pretty nice chunks. It's just gonna take 2 to 3 minutes for the cheese to be perfect. All right, the pasta is done. I love these pasta pots with the built-in colander. Now I'll put it into a great big bowl. I love these huge pasta bowls. And then I'll drizzle the pasta with a little bit of olive oil. Now I like to put a nice layer of Parmesan shavings on the pasta before I put the sauce on. It just adds a nice layer of deliciousness. I'm just using a vegetable peeler. Okay, I think that's a good amount of Parmesan. Now give the sauce a stir. Ooh, the mozzarella is melting. It looks perfect. And I'm just gonna pour this right over the pasta. A lot faster than spooning it. Wow, and the cheese is gonna continue to soften. Okay, now I wanna add some green to the top and some flavor. So I've got some beautiful basil. Now I just stack up the leaves real roughly. I'm not trying to be precise here. This is a 16-minute meal after all. And I'll just roll them up and just slice them pretty thin. And with that, dinner is done and in 16 minutes flat. Date night chicken pasta. So I've got 2 chicken breasts. They're not like enormous. They're sort of the nice, manageable size. And I'm sprinkling one side with salt and pepper. I've got a hot pan with olive oil, and I'll put them right in the pan. And it's gonna take just a little time for these to cook. I'll go ahead and season the other side with salt and pepper. I gotta get the pasta in the water so it'll have a hope of cooking. The good thing about cooking for 2 is you only have to use half a bag of pasta. You don't have to make the whole bag. Okay, so the chicken is now cooked. So I'm gonna remove it from the pan, and I'm gonna make a really yummy, simple sauce. White wine. Oh my gosh, is there any better combination in the world? That was a lot of wine. I didn't really mean to add that much. I just kept going. Now I've got this straight spatula, and I'm just scraping the bottom of the pan just to loosen up all those bits of chicken. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so, so good. And then I'm gonna add some more good stuff. Butter, just about a tablespoon or so, and lots of garlic. And then stir it around. And then already that wine is starting to bubble up and reduce. So I've got some cut up asparagus and broccolini. Delicious. I'm gonna crank up the heat so that wine keeps reducing. But this is just a super quick pasta. There's nothing complicated about it. I love broccolini. It does take a little bit more time than broccoli takes. You would think it would be similar, but the stalks of the broccolini are quite a bit tougher. So it's good to get them in this sauce and start the cooking process. Oh, yum,
So
yum.
know that.
Yeah. I've
More you
made
know.
the mistake many times. Salt and pepper. And then, where the rubber meets the road, now that the wine is really reduced, I'm gonna add in heavy cream. And there's more to add to this, but I'm gonna let this simmer in this state for a little while. The pasta is finished cooking, so I'll drain all the water. And the sauce really cooked down. It's super thick. The broccolini is tender. So is the asparagus. So in goes the pasta. And then I'll give it a little stir. And then you've got to add some lemon juice. It just adds amazing, fresh, citrusy flavor and lemon zest. And then, for good measure, a generous amount of Parmesan. Save a little for the top. And then, Alex, come on. This is you here. This is all about you here. Look at that lemon zest.
My cup of tea.
Yeah, and it's just coating the noodles absolutely perfectly, so there's not like an excess amount of sauce at all. So I'll kind of nestle the chicken breasts into the pasta. You can slice the chicken if you like, but I kind of like to see what's going on here. See that big, beautiful chicken. And then some Parmesan shavings and some torn basil leaves. What a stunner of a chicken pasta dish. Would you rather have the chicken like sliced, diced, or do you like it whole?
I kind of like it whole.
Yeah, I kind of do too. Okay, I want to get everything laid out so we can wrap our heads around this incredible date night menu. Okay, here is the pasta. Isn't it beautiful?
Wow.
I'm going to start by making the Cajun spice. Into a bowl, I'm adding some black pepper, garlic powder, paprika, and cayenne. Just give it a stir. And I've got cubed, boneless, skinless chicken breasts in this bowl. And I'll just sprinkle some of the Cajun spice over. And then just get the chicken coated. Now over here I've got olive oil and butter on pretty high heat in a big, heavy skillet. I'm not going to stir or disturb it at all. I just want to get it against the surface so it'll brown as quickly as possible. Chicken's gorgeous and golden. Take the chicken out of the pan, keep it on a separate platter. That butter gives it such a great color. So I can throw the veggies in here and get them going. Add red and green bell peppers. We want the sizzle. The sizzle is good. And purple onions. Then I'll add a good amount of garlic and a bunch of nice chopped Roma tomatoes. Okay, now we can give the veggies a stir. The peppers have a nice blackness going on, and that means flavor. Okay, take the veggies out of the pan before they turn to mush. Mushy peppers ruin my day. Now, this is my favorite part. See if you can guess what it is. I'll show you. Wine. Make sure the pan's really hot. I'm sorry, I couldn't speak for a minute. I love that sound and I love that smell. Delicious. Now I'm gonna add a little broth. And then just let this bubble up and reduce until it becomes really, really thick. I'm gonna go grab my other favorite part. Cream, heavy cream, not whole milk, not half and half. We'll add about a cup to the reduced sauce in the pan. And now that it's thick, I'm gonna add in the chicken and the peppers. Okay, this is ready. We've got the chicken and the onions and the peppers, garlic, and the cream sauce. Time to put the pasta in. Look at there, guys. Hey, you guys have a sixth sense, I tell you. How are you?
Good.
How was your morning?
Can I have the big block of chicken, please?
You want a big piece of chicken? You hungry, Brycey?
Uh-huh.
You starving? You guys sit over there and I'll serve it up.
A lot of chicken.
Heavy on the chicken. Where'd your dad go, guys? Do we have to help Uncle Tim some more? Well, that means more pasta for us, right?
Yeah.
Sure. You want more pasta, more chicken, or more everything? Good. Hits the spot, doesn't it, kiddos? Chicken spinach artichoke lasagna. One of my favorite recipes to freeze. So I'm starting with a mixture of onion, garlic, and rosemary. And I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. And I had a little butter and oil in the skillet. So I'm gonna give this mixture a stir and let it start to release all the incredible flavor. So I'm gonna let this keep cooking and I'm gonna make the ricotta mixture for the lasagna. So a whole bunch of ricotta, and I'll add some egg yolks and a very generous amount of jarred pesto, and then some parsley, quite a bit. And I'll add some oregano that's chopped really fine, plenty of salt and pepper. So I'm just gonna stir this around and fold it until it's totally mixed together. Okay, this ricotta mixture looks absolutely incredible. There is so much pesto in here. So back to the pot with all the onion and garlic. It is looking great. Oh my goodness. It smells divine. So I'm gonna sprinkle some flour over this mixture. This is going to be the sauce. Now I wanna cook the flour for a good minute, just so it doesn't have that raw flour flavor. In goes the milk and cream. While you stir that veggie mixture that's coated in flour. And then I'm adding heavy cream. Okay, I just need to let this cook for about 5 minutes to thicken. All right, this sauce is absolutely glorious. So I've got a bunch of rotisserie chicken and it's shredded really fine. And it goes in along with a bunch of Parmesan cheese. And then frozen spinach, I let it thaw and then I drained all the water out of it. Okay, and then last but not least, some quartered artichoke hearts. This looks like the most incredible spinach artichoke dip you could possibly make. And the chicken just sends it over the top. All righty. Ooh, this looks so good. So I'm gonna turn off the heat and I'm gonna go ahead and build the lasagna. So I'm using these disposable loaf pans. And first thing I'm gonna do is get about a 1/4 cup of the sauce and put it right into the bottom of the pan and grab a little bit of this ricotta mixture. Okay, so after you spread the ricotta mixture on the noodle, I have some grated fontina cheese and I'll just sprinkle it right over. So then I'm gonna roll up the lasagna All right, so look at that. That is one lasagna roll. So I'm gonna do 5 more just like this and fill the pan. Okay, now that the lasagna noodles are built and rolled up, as you may have guessed, I will top them with this glorious chicken spinach artichoke sauce. Be generous, there's a lot of it. All right, and then finally, you've gotta top the whole thing with cheese because this is lasagna. So I'm putting sliced mozzarella on top. I just bake it straight from the freezer at 350 degrees for 40 minutes. Then for stage 2, I remove the foil, put it back in, and bake it for a further 10 minutes. Then when the cheese is melted, I take them out, and that is all there is to it.